Three, two, one. Good afternoon. I'm live with Jack Moffitt of the Preatures. G'day, Jack. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for coming in.
No, it's good. Sorry, I was late.
That's all right. I know you're busy, so I'm just happy to have you here. So how's your tour of Australia going?
Really well. Really well. We, I think, are approaching halfway through a big 40-day regional tour of Australia, which so far has been amazing. We've come through WA, we've done Tasmania, and now we're doing the Victorian leg, and it's going really well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. And you've brought in your touring acts of the moment as well.
That's one of them, yeah. I decided to retire the 335 that I own, which is I think it's a 67 335, okay. But it used to be a 12-string.
Yep.
And it's such a beautiful companion, and I got so paranoid about it breaking that I had to stop taking it on the road, because I just one day picked up the case and had a big dent in it, and I was like, I would probably cry if I ever picked this guitar up in pieces. So
you do have to be careful. Yeah, we do get a few people that come in after a plane trip, and
it's just that angle of those classic
Gibson neck. Well, they say if you break them,
apparently they sound better.
Yeah, they repair them. So this is not a normal Australian tour for you, because you're doing a lot of regional towns.
Yeah, it's all regional towns actually, or parts of Australia that we haven't played recently or ever.
Yeah.
Like for example, we just did Bendigo and Ballarat, and we're going to play Mulgrave I think tomorrow, Chelsea Heights, San Remo.
Yeah.
Going up to Albury, slowly kind of snaking our way up, and then going to end up in Alice Springs by September time, I think.
Wow, and that's the last one?
That'll be the last one in Alice Springs.
That's fantastic.
September, yeah. So I'm excited to, see places that I haven't been to before.
Have you done any touring like that in Australia before? I know you've done a fair bit.
We've done a fair bit of touring, you're right. Getting to some of these other cities, not so much, but we did do an acoustic tour I think a couple of years ago, and it was a sort of a hush-hush thing that we were doing in association with a brand or something, and it was like really intense. We would sometimes do 3 shows a day.
Yeah.
So there are some of these towns like San Remo and Chelsea Heights and a few other places in Victoria that we are playing full band that we haven't played before, like that. But yeah, it's on the whole, there's no capital cities at all.
Okay, so just outside of the capital cities. Okay,
I think that's the way we've gotten around the whole regional.
That's great. Well, it's great for people in the regional areas.
Yeah, I think the overwhelming thing has been this kind of gratefulness that people are like happy that we've come out to play a show in their neck of the woods, and I totally appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, before I nerd out and ask you guitar and all sorts of music questions, can I hear that guitar? Play anything you want to.
Yeah, this is an interesting sounding Les Paul, I suppose. Just
that's superb.
Yeah,
it's got some resonance.
Yeah, I think it's because the cap is actually partly hollow underneath.
Yeah. We opened it out of Jack's case before.
Yeah.
And got the hammer and did a little knock around.
You can hear it too.
And there's some caves in there, that's for sure. So this is, if you can see this at home, I don't know if you can, but it's very hard to spot it, but it does say Greco on the top of the headstock. Now, if you've tuned in and you're not sure what Greco is a Japanese brand from Japan, and they made a lot of stuff in the 70s.
They did during what's called the lawsuit era.
The lawsuit era, that's it. So this would have been, in fact, a lawsuit type guitar.
I think so. This predates a series that Greco released called the Super Real series, I think, and they did both Telecasters or Fender models and some Gibson models, and I think the reason that this is so chambered the way that it is, or so weight relieved, is a lot to do with the market at the time. A lot of Japanese guitar players were requesting lighter guitars to play on stage, but also I think it's a lot cheaper to manufacture them en masse in the way that they would have been doing.
Absolutely.
Because they were trying to squeeze through a very swiftly closing door with Gibson's litigation. So they're making lots of guitars around this period, which is 79.
Yeah. I wonder, someone told me once that there's a lot of hype about that lawsuit era guitar stuff, but then there was really one particular company that got in trouble. I'm like, it might have been Ibanez, but I can't say that for certain. But,
I don't know, because there were three of them, and I think Orville ended up being bought out by Gibson in some of the scenes, and so they were the only licensed manufacturer to make Gibson in Japan. Under that name. Yeah. But they share a lot of commonalities. Like, I think a lot of the pickups were all manufactured by the Maxon or MXR factory, so all those guitars ended up with similar pickups.
Have you pulled the pickups out?
I have. I've actually gutted this and replaced it, because the pickups that were in it were microphonic.
Oh, right.
And I didn't know this until a
very
festival.
Handy.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole other layer of feedback I'd never heard before. And so I realised
was it sustaining a particular note or anything? Like when a valve goes in an amp?
It's kind of like, what's that guy's name? Robert Fripp, you know?
Oh, yeah,
It's kind of like I had to be in certain places, and I was doing this strange guitar shapes, and Izzy was like, you performed really well tonight. And I was like, I was struggling. It was like riding a bull all night.
So the Preatures turned into King Crimson.
Yeah,
just for one
show.
note.
Just for one note.
That reminds me of the... I'm getting sidetracked, as I tend to do, but when Santana played at Woodstock.
Yeah, well,
and if you look at that... Yeah, that's right, that's right. And if you look at... he had that famous photo where he's kind of hanging onto the... the famous film clip, he's hanging onto the SG, and you can get this on YouTube if you want to look it up, but he says... someone had given me the LSD and my guitar became a snake and I had to control the snake. And so maybe that's what it was like. That's amazing. So now you were born in Cairns, but you grew up in Sydney.
That's true. I was born there and moved to Sydney with my family. My dad was in the Navy, and so we moved from up there. He was posted. Actually went to Canberra first, bounced back up to Sydney, and was there from the time I was about 6 or 7 years old, maybe a bit younger, five. And yeah, I've been there ever since.
New South Wales, Queensland, state of origin. You still go for Queensland?
It's not a conflict for me. I don't really mind. Though I should probably pick a side, and I think in my heart of hearts I know I'm probably a Queensland supporter. But
there we go. Whew, thank God. So when did you start playing guitar?
I think I was 8.
Okay. Electric guitar or acoustic?
It was a Spanish, like a Yamaha
classical
guitar, yeah. And it was a gift that my dad had bought for my mum, and it was not in tune.
Right.
And I plonked around on it for a long time. My mum was quite a good player. She used to sort of play these tunes with like C, G, and D, and sing, and I thought it was quite special. Yeah. And the guitar ended up lying around, and a kid came over one day and tuned it and started playing like... and I was like, that's a brilliant riff. So in the end, I watched him.
I love when he plays the high one as well. That's it.
Yeah, there's a great song in the track. That was like a little moment for me where my mind sort of expanded. And then a neighbour of ours at the time had an Elvis tape of like a 56 or 52 Sun Sessions thing. Right. Scotty Moore on it.
Prime position.
It was unbelievable. And we had this crappy stereo. It was really bad. It just worked out of one side. And we had a Beatles CD with like hit singles on it. And so for years growing up, and I taught myself how to play and tune the guitar from listening to Day Tripper, because the first note is just... And I was like, I can... And just figuring out the rest of the strings on chords and stuff in the rest of that song.
That's good. Do you have perfect pitch?
I'm close, but I still hear B as being slightly sharp from concert. I can't change that. I don't know whether it's the shape of my ears or the shape of my head or something. I don't know.
It's the hair.
It might be the hair. Even when I shaved my head, it still sounded the same.
It's not the hair.
So maybe it's just my nose is bent slightly off to one side. Might be
That's what it is. Previous injuries. Yes, it's amazing how many people find it difficult to tune a guitar by ear, especially nowadays when you get these fancy clip-on tuners, which I do love.
They're great. They can be really helpful.
And did you get some lessons?
I did. There was a lady at my primary school who was the mother of my best friend at the time, and she taught a group every other Friday, and she put this stack of sheet music down in front of me one afternoon. It had all these Beatles songs in there, and all the chords, the great little chord diagrams with the grids and the dots and everything, and I was pretty much self-sufficient after that. She showed me all these chords and said, if you can get B minor and what was it, another chord, F, if you can learn to play those chords, you'll be fine.
Well, F's a hard one.
Well, I never understood why.
A tough one.
Exactly right. It's just the bar chords. She's like, you'll be fine after that.
That's
you don't
fantastic.
need to worry.
So were you in bands from a young age, or just because I know you went to the Institute of Music?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Australian Institute of Music.
And that's where you met?
That's where I met Izzy, yeah.
Right.
Tom and I, the bass player in our band, Tom and I, we've been friends for ages. We went to high school together, and I think I met him, we must have been about 14.
Yep.
So yeah, maybe 14 years now we've known each other.
Yeah.
And then we both went to AIM very briefly, and that's where we ran into Izzy. We were sitting on the stairs looking cool, smoking cigarettes.
That's when cigarettes were cool, guys.
Cigarettes were cool.
They're not that cool anymore, although I do still get cravings for them.
I don't.
You're good?
I was chatting with this about the other day.
Wow.
Izzy's giving up at the moment.
Ooh.
So we met Izzy, and we were all smoking at the time.
Did you introduce her to smoking?
No,
Was it your fault?
She was well corrupted. I didn't need to go in.
There we go.
For that. I think from that point we were like inseparable, the three of us.
Yeah.
And we used to go to gigs and go out and drink together and write music and play other people's stuff and learn songs and trade playlists or things that we were into. And Izzy was really very generous, I guess, in sort of making our musical world bigger. Tom and I were pretty ardent rock and roll fans, and there wasn't much outside of that.
Yeah.
Being young men, I suppose it was like the be all and end all, and we would like wear flares and thought we were going to be the next big rock and roll band. Which I guess in a way has partly come true, but we're a little bit more wise than we were when we were 14 years old.
Well, I want to ask you about that because not about the flares so much, but becoming, fairly successful. Let's be honest, pretty damn successful.
Yeah.
In this day and age, where, and I see it all the time, I get young kids coming in here, young, guys, girls, whatever, in their teens, 20s, and they're trying to make it in a band. They're trying to do it themselves. Yeah. They're going. They don't want a major label. They're trying to do everything through their own label, or they're doing it themselves completely. And I mean, how did you sort of formed in 2010?
Yeah.
And you kind of, I mean, by 2014, you're pretty big. So how did that happen?
It's hard to put it down to any one thing. We just worked a lot. We worked really hard, a lot, like constantly, and hustled a lot of people for things that we felt like we wanted to do. And a lot of that really had to do with playing shows and learning how to put on a show, or learning how to be a good group.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a very simple thing, but there wasn't much to distract us from that at the time, because social media, everyone likes to demonize it, but it wasn't quite like what it is now, and we didn't need to use all of those things in order to reach the people that were coming to see us. And so slowly, even from 2013 to now, things have like rapidly changed, where keeping up with people on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and when once those things started mushrooming, we'd kind of already done like our 10,000 hours of playing crappy gigs and touring in our own cars and breaking down on the side of highways and figuring out whether or not we wanted to stay independent, and just looking at everything as an opportunity to figure out who we were. And so, you know, those kids that you're talking about, sort of, it seems like they might be at a disadvantage or at a greater advantage, but I think the thing is always going to be the same, that if they're looking to do something and they remember to keep that vision in mind when they're doing it, I don't think it's ever going to change what it takes to succeed. I guess luck is a small part of it that you can't account for.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think if you're sitting back depending on luck, it's a small chance, but
it's slim. And self-entitlement can make you, it can make you unapproachable. If you think you're sort of due something. That was an interesting sound. It's like a poster or something. Panda's wreaking havoc in the next door.
She's out of control. The fame of being on the wall downstairs has gone to her head. She's ripping up the joint. I think that you also have great songs.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
You great players. It's well-crafted pop stuff. You've got a great singer who's...
We do.
For me, it's Olivia Newton-John, it's Norah Jones. There's so many, it's incredible. So, and I was just saying to you before we went on that when I first heard your band on the radio, I thought this is definitely a foreign band. There's without a doubt this cannot be Australian. And then someone said they're from Sydney.
Yeah,
and I said no. There are no bands from Sydney anymore. It can't be true. But it is in fact true. So there you are.
Yeah.
Did you know when you went to music school with Izzy?
Yeah.
When you first heard her sing, did you think that's...
Yeah, I did.
Right.
I remember she asked us to play something, or I sat with her and we strummed through some thing that she needed to do for a particular part of her course, and I just, those moments that you get when you hear a great voice. It's complete and there's nothing, there is no other way to kind of talk about it. It's like it was beautiful. And even now, Izzy will sing something sometimes, or I'll hear something or a moment from a record just in passing, and I still get that feeling in the back of my neck.
Yeah.
And in that sense, that's unique. That doesn't come across all the time.
No, absolutely not. I totally agree. I had your vinyl on before, and Blue Planet Eyes. If you don't have it, that's very good.
Yeah, first record.
And amazing stuff. In terms of songwriting, is it yourself? Is it a team effort? How does it work?
There's a lot of stuff that will be me and Izzy separately having brought a series of ideas together, and then we'll work on them, the two of us. With that album, Blue Planet Eyes, I remember a lot of what went into the writing of that album was songs that Izzy and I had been working on, or that Izzy was working on, or that I had worked on with Gideon, who was previously in the band, and was at the time we made that album, throwing them at the forum of the group, and having played them live for a couple of years, kind of cut the fat from a lot of them. So they ended up being this sort of taut series of arrangements that was designed for us to play the shortest set possible with the most amount of music and stuff in it that made us feel good. And then later on this last album, on Girlhood, which came out last year, a lot of that writing was music and ideas that I had worked on that I gave, I guess what I usually do, give over to Izzy so that she can write over them or through them at her kind of leisure, because she likes to go through things in a certain process, but also songs that she had written on her own from exploring this particular character. That was what that album was about.
So are you writing, if you write a song yourself, are you writing the chord progression and the melody?
Yeah, I'll often just write that and sing gibberish over it, or I might have a bit and it's the gateway to what I feel like the rest of the song is about. And I'm not particular anymore. I used to be really particular about my little creations, but I sort of feel like if you've got any good starting point and somebody else has a good idea, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the strength, I think, of our relationship, writing relationship between Izzy and I, is that never-ending kind of sense of fun. That's like, if you've got the next best idea,
that's cool.
It doesn't really matter whose it was.
Now look, I'm not really a lyrics guy. I think my first record was Smash and Grab by Racy, so that sort of sets the bar.
Okay,
but in terms of music theory and stuff, I'm not too bad. Right. So Yanada
yeah.
starts on a B.
That's true.
But seems to be in the key of E.
It is in the key of E.
Okay. Then you've got something like, Is This How You Feel?
Yeah.
Is F sharp to A. Is that correct? I'll get you to
show
me in a minute.
Yeah.
And then you've got, what was I listening to? Somebody's Talking. It starts on a C.
Yeah, it starts on C.
So you've got one song in the key of E, one song F sharp minor.
Well, it's actually the key of A, that song.
Key of A, yeah.
If I think about it.
Can you show me the riff too?
Yeah, that was funny. That was just.
Because it's not just straight.
it's a lot about riff. Just smacking the guitar. I think that's just something that I do.
Yeah.
It's like. You can actually hear it on this guitar, the counting.
Yeah.
Between the. Otherwise, it's. And for a while, whilst I was recording it, I played around with it going. Right. And it just didn't feel good having that extra octave in there.
That's very cool. I like the middle setting as well. Is that how you recorded it? Because that almost sounds exactly like it. So.
Yeah, it was the
funny that,
but
it's
curious. Yeah.
You're playing it, but
there is two guitar parts though. So this kind of ostinato thing, I guess, the riff was just one guitar and that. That was
just a straight A triad there.
Yeah, cool, that's right. Yeah.
Cool. So, do you know in yourself? You must have an idea of Izzy's range.
Yeah.
Which seems pretty wide.
She has a great range. It's not a guitarist's range. We do a lot of things in like C or C sharp and B, which I guess is a great key for guitar. But like figuring out her range, we wrote a lot of songs around in F sharp and like E flat and it's just weird stuff just to try to figure out where it felt the strongest.
Yeah. Have you had to change?
Yeah,
so some keys?
Changed a lot of stuff around Izzy's voice to get it right in certain spots. And I remember chatting. We were really fortunate. Well, I was really fortunate to get to sit down with Mark McKinty from the Divinals over a few.
I was going to ask you about
things.
That. I saw a live clip.
Yeah, well, he played with us for a gig. We played Boys in Town, but then we went and played some Divinals shows. Well, we did a Divinals show in Perth not long ago, and in the rehearsals for that, and just sort of between those two events, I got to sit with him and we chatted about stuff, and most of it was to do with writing and tunings and all the crazy stuff that I kind of do naturally. Yeah. I'll tune the guitar into certain chords and then try and figure out parts and make things up to fit around a vocal line or fit around a range.
So on this tour, how many guitars are you using? Do you have some in different tunings?
I just tried to make it as simple as possible because there are so many of them. Yeah. There are so many shows. I have two guitars. I take a Strat on the road. Yeah. And I take this. Yeah. But I'm thinking I might change it out for a Telecaster or something, but I need to find one first, so I might have a look around after it.
Well, you happen to be in the right spot, Jack. We've got a few people on. Brenda, give us the details of the guitars you're playing.
Oh, cool.
Yes, well, Jack is on his vintage Greco.
Yeah, that's right.
From Japan. What do you think, late 70s, this one?
It's definitely 79, and I know because of the way that the serial numbers work.
Right.
I think A is 79? January, 79 is the year, and then the number of the guitar made from a particular measurement. I can't remember where it's...
Had the tuners upgraded?
These, these are Grovers.
Yeah.
The ones that were on there were just, like the Clusen style copy, the tulip button ones.
Oh, yeah.
They were a little bit unreliable, but these ones don't slip as much.
Nice. This is a Nash. It's Sorry. This is a Nash T63. I'm not really playing it that much today, but that's it's here in the shop.
It's great.
Yeah, Nash. If you have tuned in and you don't know much about Nash, it's kind of like a Fender. We'll call it an appreciation of Fender.
Yeah, I would say a very good appreciation of Fender.
What sort of amps are you using?
I've been meddling with pairing amplifiers. So I'll do
like in stereo?
Not in stereo. I'll do them in mono because I don't really feel like I need to do them in stereo.
Yeah.
I don't use any crazy effects.
Okay. Andy Summers stereo.
Yeah, or like Ian Moss, who's got like dry, wet, dry, and there are like 3 Marshall stacks on stage.
I have an Ian Moss question for you, but I'll ask you.
Okay, no, sure. Yeah, so I usually will use like an old AC30. I try to find the hand-wired ones. I more often than not can get them in Victoria. I can't get them anywhere else.
Well, I said to you, you should move down here.
Yeah.
We would like you here.
I would like to come and live down here. I feel like the more I say it, the more comfortable I am with the idea that I'll probably do it.
It's not always 12 degrees or whatever it is up there today. And you didn't get shot on the way in. We had a drive-by shooting here the other day, but I'll tell you about that. So none of us have been shot. So okay, so AC30 is cool. So just pairing them together. Is that what you're using at the moment? Currently,
Yeah,
like
well,
2 AC30s.
No, just one, or I'll use it in a Blues Junior, or maybe the last couple of gigs I've had a Marshall with a 4x10, and I'll pair that with the Vox. And it sounds ludicrous, but the 900s, the JCM 900s, even a 50 watt, I prefer the 100s, but if you get them cooking, it's not a loud 100 watts. It's just a very clear, like, projection of the guitar. Yeah. And I've become very curious about getting kind of things running quite nominally. I guess from being in a studio mindset and having produced things and gain stages and stuff. Yeah. If I can get the ohmage, the right amount of RMS moving through the speakers at a certain ohmage, it's going to be bigger and clearer. Yeah. Because I'm not looking for distortion. That's not really what I'm looking for. I just need the projection. Yeah. And for it to stay out of the way of Izzy's voice.
You're using pedals?
I use a few, but mostly just to recreate things that I've done on albums. And so I have a small delay. I think it's like a Mua. It's called a Re-Echo or Rico. They're great.
I've got a Mua Shimverb on the floor there. I love the Mua stuff. We sell Muas here, so there you go.
I actually had to come here and pick up a pair when we were on tour once.
Oh, right.
And you weren't in, unfortunately, but Billy was here.
I had been shot in the last drive-by. That's how we do it here.
I also have this great Fairfield. It's like a distortion pedal with a sweepable boost. I can't really explain it. It's brilliant. It's just 4 knobs, low, mid, high, level, and then a Q control, which you can like sort of switch between being wide or narrow and boost or cut the frequencies in that range. Okay. Which is really brilliant.
That's cool. I haven't seen that one.
It's brilliant. I can't remember the number. I think it's like 436. Right. But that guy, his name's Philippe. He makes some amazing pedals. Really good stuff.
I'll put all this in the description when we load it to YouTube and whatnot. And what your Blues Junior, is it an old American one or a reissue?
Yeah, it's one of the early ones. It's a tweed one.
That's the one you're playing through at the moment.
Oh, is that? Yeah, exactly.
It's a 91. That's a brown Tolex 1991 American one.
I've never seen one in brown.
I've never seen another one. I was just very lucky. Sort of had a few of them at one point, and I like the sound of that.
I feel bad I didn't even ask now. I just sort of started playing. I was like, it sounds fine.
Well, that means you believe in the gear we have here, Jack. Actually, I had Shannon Bourne in a couple of weeks ago, and I was running him through my vintage Twin, which is a 70. Okay. And then literally as soon as we started broadcasting, the amp started going pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, it's the caps giving out.
It's a little bit annoying. Ian Moss question for you.
Sure.
So in the Cold Chisel cover
that we did.
Yes.
Yeah, with Dan Sultan.
Yes. Yeah. Mr. Sultan. Hello, Dan, if you're watching.
I love that guy.
He's trying to get him to come in on Instagram.
Well, I have to work on him.
Yeah. He hasn't said yes or no. So it's like, he kind of hasn't said anything. So I think I'm still in with a chance. So that's pretty good. I heard the solo played on that track.
Oh,
was
really?
it Ian Moss playing? It's on the, who's doing the guitar work? Or is that you?
That's me, yeah.
Is it?
Are you talking about the one that we did for
It's
recently that is with Dan?
Yeah.
That's me playing. I
Oh,
spent a
right.
while learning that line.
Wow.
I asked Ian about it. We recently did a show in a little town in Queensland called Dirranbandi near St George.
Okay, yeah.
And I asked
out west.
Ian about that line. But I didn't really need to ask many questions after I saw the sizes of his hands.
He's a big guy.
He's got massive hands.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it all makes sense.
Killer's hands.
He does
or guitar player's hands.
Killer's hands. Tree lopper's hands.
Yeah, I've been standing beside him. I was at the Byron Bay Blues Fest a few years ago. My brother happened to be doing a film clip for someone there, and so we were backstage, and I was too nervous to introduce myself to him. So I was standing right beside him. But he's a huge guy.
He's a very large
man. Yeah, okay, impressive.
Yeah.
I was like triple impressed now. I'm like, wow.
Oh, yeah. He's a brilliant player.
Man, he's one of the great Australian players, amazing Strat player. So,
incredible, yeah. It's amazing the sound that he can pull out of single coils. Like I've watched a lot of Chisel clips now, having done that track and doing some research and trying to get my head around the line, which might seem like overkill for a 3-minute song, but it's a great track, and just watching the finesse. He's got so much precision. I'm not like that at all.
Yeah.
I'm a rugged, sort of slappy player.
Yeah.
And
occasionally, I mean, you get guys and girls that come in the shop, and there's just like some people are just naturals.
Yeah,
so they're leavable.
Really precise players. I've got lots of time for those people, but I'm just not one of them.
Well, I know you're busy, so I'll ask you really quickly about studio stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I jumped on Spotify to do a little bit of homework. I put on Girlhood,
Yeah.
which everyone should do every day. Start the day out with Girlhood. It's an excellent record, whatever you call them these days. And there's a mix by Jack Moffitt.
Oh yeah, of Magic.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, did you mix that record yourself, or
I didn't mix that album. I mixed that track. Bob Clearmountain actually mixed that album.
Okay.
He's quite a famous mix engineer. He's famous, I guess, for all the albums he mixed in the 80s, like Bruce Springsteen. And he mixed David Bowie.
Wow.
I think he did Let's Dance and
Wow.
a bunch of other stuff. Brian Ferry, Avalon, and Boys and Girls, and some Roxy Music stuff. But
some decent stuff?
he did some proper records. I mixed that. That was just a reference mix that you make a record and you kind of you do bounces. People call them bounces or reference mixes, and the way that often ends up happening with certain songs is you've lived with that for so long it's become part of you, and you can't bear to part with it or change it, and so somebody else will do a mix and 9 out of 10 people tell you it's the better one, but there's this little piece of you that goes, no, that's the one that is the song for me. Because the mixes are really, it's like alchemy.
Yeah.
It can be the difference between people hearing the song or people hearing the mix.
Yes, absolutely. I think, okay, so Iggy and the Stooges, Raw Power.
Yeah, great album.
Great record. First mix by David Bowie.
Oh, yeah.
Second mix by Iggy Pop. So I remember when that came out, I thought I have to get that. And I went into a record shop and I turned it on, and I couldn't stand it because it sounded like he just belted everything in the desk. And so all I could hear was
Just
the desk
distortion,
you know, and so I was arguing with the record guy about it. He's like, no, it's much better. I'm like, no, that can't be right.
Terrible, yeah.
Sounds terrible, but there you go. A couple of quick questions for you, and then I will let you duck the gunfire and get back to Fitzroy. Supported the Stones.
Yeah.
It's not bad on a resume to have
looks
that.
good, doesn't it?
That looks pretty good. Where and how did that happen?
I couldn't tell you how. I have a feeling it's got a lot to do with Mr. Michael Gudinski. God bless his soul.
God bless you. God bless you, Michael.
Where did we? I think it was in Macedon Ranges now, I think.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It was at a winery.
Right. You did that gig.
We did. Hope Estate, I think it might have been. And there was meant to be some unfortunate business happened with Mick Jagger.
Right.
And his daughter, I think it was. Or
daughter,
his wife.
ex-wife,
Yeah. And that just turned really bad. And so I felt for him. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be Mick Jagger, or you could be the gun-toting guy out the front of this place. Anything bad happens to somebody, you feel bad. But that gig got cancelled. But damn, that was fun.
That's
We
amazing.
were like little ants in this ridiculous rock and roll circus.
A lot of people. Did you eat? Did you have a slice of Keith's shepherd's pie? Did you dare?
They didn't feed us anything, actually. We got into our green room. This is the best story. Everyone loves to tell this story in the band. We got into the demountable, and it was like at least 35 degrees, and there was no air conditioning.
Toasty.
We didn't have any chairs, and we had a hot 6-pack of Tui's New, which, if you were watching from the beginning, you'll know I'm from Queensland. So that's already an insult. Yeah, just like, we were like, whoa, okay, I guess this is what it's like supporting the Stones. I went down to catering to ask if I could get some water and have maybe something to eat. And they were like, no, you don't have a catering ticket.
They said, if you want to rock with the Stones, kid,
you can go hungry.
But you got to have warm Tui's New.
Sounds like a nitpicking thing, but I think it was just, it was such an epic production. And it was worth it all, I guess, just to watch Keith, running up the side of the stage for that first song to do Jumpin' Jack Flash, and I was like, man.
Cool.
And to shake his little hand before he went on stage. I got to meet them all, which is really cool.
They're little guys. They seem, I've never met them, but they look tiny. So
there's a photo of us, and we're not allowed to share it with anybody. That was part of the thing of us having it taken. And each of us in the band ended up standing next to, I think, our associate Stone. So Luke, our drummer, standing next to Charlie. We didn't plan it, it just ended up that way.
Wow.
I'm standing next to Keith. Tom's standing next to Mick Jagger, which I think is hilarious because they kind of look similar at a squint.
That's cool.
But yeah, big highlight. I think there aren't going to be any
huge.
more bands like that ever.
No.
Unless something changes. But I don't think that is really an era that will be revisited in any way, shape or form.
No, it's too. I was having this conversation with someone else the other day, and it's probably for another time. But I just think the way our culture seems to be at the moment, and the pace of communication, and it's difficult to see anything really sort of holding.
I feel
that long.
So. I had this chat with people on tour. You end up sharing TV series and podcasts and things, and unlike the radio or television where it was only ever on a particular night and you all had to kind of watch it or you missed out. You can watch or hear anything at any time at your own pace. And so sharing experiences in that way, and people starting the journey of uncovering what it means to them, happens at different stages, and so different people peak early, different people peak late. That thing that I think Liam Gallagher or Noel Gallagher says in the Oasis documentary about their show in Hyde Park or whatever it was, where some 500,000 people were there. He was like, it'll never happen again.
No, that's right. And it's like just a year before the internet really took hold.
Exactly. He says it's no coincidence.
I love that docker. It was great.
It was a good one. It's good. I think that's a good point.
We had him here in he came in the shop.
I saw the photo. Yeah.
Invited me to the show, and we just had a baby, and I had to say no. And I can't go. I've got a baby. It's like,
he's got kids. He takes them on tour. I think.
Yeah. No, he was actually really nice. It's he's kind of a polarizing figure, and when I posted a photo of him up, half of the comments were like, "What a miserable," and it's like he's quite funny. He's quite funny. So
just a sensitive writer who probably had to put on the brave face because your next of kin is an absolute fool.
That's never a truer word has been spoken. On that wonderful note, what's next for you guys? You finish this tour? Are you going overseas?
I might take a break. I might do some writing. Izzy's going to head off on a writing trip through Europe, and I'm probably going to go and visit some friends maybe in New Zealand.
Lovely.
Kid over and write some songs. But yeah, I haven't made up my mind yet.
Cool.
People keep telling me to go to Portugal. I don't know why.
Portugal, I know someone that was in Portugal recently. They said it was beautiful. So
maybe I should do it.
I think they've cleaned up their. They had some drug type problems and things there, but I think it's all they've fixed it somehow. Was my word on Portugal. Well, a customary handshake, sir.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much for spending the time here.
It's good to make it happen.
Guys, if you get a chance, go and see the Preatures. They are excellent. Are you doing backflips, or is it just Izzy?
I don't know how to do them, so I leave that with a much more talented individual, and Izzy is the one. If you want to come see backflips, don't come to my side of the stage.
Backflips are awesome, and her voice is I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's the best around at the moment, in my opinion. There's lots of good singers, but I just love that sound. I think you guys should dig up an old Olivia tune or something and read it.
That might be a hard one to put past the keeper, but I'll definitely ask her about it.
You know. And thanks so much.
No, thank you very much. It was good to chat.
See you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry if I didn't say hello.